Hello, and welcome to Real with Haley. It has been a bit since I have recorded, and I'm trying to make some improvements to the podcast. I have got a camera set up on a loom light. If you could see me now, this is actually way more complicated than it would seem. I have my camera, I have my loom light, I have my video recording through my podcast software. I have the mic on. I think we're recording, you guys. Like, this is a lot. So, and it has taken months to get all of this set up. I'm not the most tech savvy person, so doing this is um, super confusing to me at times. So, we'll see how this goes. I may run out of battery on something. I may have to cut it off and resume later, but here we are. Okay. And today it has been a few months since I did a podcast. And so I wanted to just kind of touch base and let you guys know about life and how it's been going. And, you know, I'm one of those people that is very, I have the best intentions of doing something weekly or every other week or monthly, but then life happens, right? It happens to all of us. And so that happened, and as it turns out, it has been several months since I have done a podcast. So apologies, but I'm attempting to get that back on track. Know that it will probably happen again, but we're going to try to do better. So today, what is on my heart is everything that happened with the Charlie Kirk murder, the Charlie Kirk assassination. It's been, I wanna say around 3 weeks ago now, and it stopped me in my tracks. Like, I guess, I've always been someone who wants to use my talents for the Lord. But when I got the news, my husband texted me, I think, that Charlie Kirk had been shot, and I was like, "What?" So I go to the news, like whatever, Google or X or whatever it happens to be. And I pull it up, and on X, you literally can see the video right there in front of you. It's everywhere of him literally being shot. And I thought at first when I saw that, honestly, being in healthcare, being a nurse practitioner, I thought it was like AI. I thought there's no way that that's actually real. Like, the amount that came out of him, like, I thought, there's no way. There's just no way. And if that's accurate, there's no way anybody survives that. Well, turns out it was accurate, sadly. Um, and I saw someone post something about how it isn't our human minds weren't meant to see that on repeat. Amen. From a mental health standpoint, from a real life standpoint, from a healthcare standpoint, that is not something that we need to see on video, much less see it on repeat. And it's almost impossible to keep yourself, at least me, from watching it. I had to tell myself over and over again, don't go back and watch that video. As interesting and as for some reason, I just gravitated toward it, and I had to tell myself, "Don't watch it, like, it's not good for you to see that." I saw that video. We have a family group chat that we use, and, we were texting back and forth on the group chat in the hours leading up to trying to figure out, was Charlie Kirk okay? Was he not okay? And, I had said, "I don't see how someone sustains that injury and survives it." Now, especially if that video was accurate. Come to find out, they finally, a few hours later, released that he had passed away. And I'm gonna tell you, like, since that moment, even though I've always been someone that knows I need to use my talents for the Lord, like, I've just been ruminating, stuck on this idea of I have to use my voice. I have to use my talents to speak out for the Lord. The fact that someone who fights for freedom of speech, right? Somebody that is willing to debate someone live in an open forum and speak out about Christ and what he believes and is essentially murdered for it is eye opening, right? And I just can't, before this happened, I spoke out about things, but now I think I just have a resolve to have a bolder faith. And I want to influence young women, young ladies, women my age. I'm 43. Any lady, honestly, who is scared to talk about their faith in public, even within the church that you go to, whatever it is. I'm not going to be quiet anymore. Even though I would say I'm someone who is fairly vocal about my faith and that I'm not, obviously not ashamed of my faith. Um, but at times, like in public settings, if an opportunity arose to say something about church, about Jesus, about my faith, I typically let those opportunities go by because I didn't want to ruffle any feathers. They say don't talk about politics and religion. Obviously, those are two very controversial topics. And so when I was in public, I would just let that opportunity slide by typically. Well, you know what? Not doing it anymore. If anybody else can talk about whatever they want to that's controversial, I can talk about what I want to talk about. Our life is but a vapor. The Bible tells us this, right? So when we are here and we are dealing with life day to day, it seems like a lot of times a long time, right? It seems like the days are long. You ever heard that saying, the days are long, but the years are short? Our life is but a vapor, okay? It may feel like a long time at times, especially when you're going through struggles, and we will. But our life is but a vapor compared to eternity. My number one goal on this earth is to bring others to Jesus and to make heaven crowded. I am a recruiter for him, right? Nothing else matters. Now, there are other things in this life that I have to pay attention to. I have to work to support a family. I have to make ends meet. I have to feed my family. I have to, if I'm blessed to own a home or a living space, I have to clean that living space. There are certain things that we have to do, but none of it truly matters. When I die, is it going to matter if I clean my house that day? Is it going to matter if I, whatever, fill in the blank? But when I stand before my Heavenly Father and I am to have an account of what I have done or haven't done, the only thing I'm truly going to care about in that moment is, have I succeeded in pleasing Him to get to heaven? So when Charlie Kirk died, I guess I saw Charlie as somebody who wasn't fearful. He wasn't scared to talk to others about his faith. I don't know. It just lit a fire in me, you all. And I hope it did you too. I mean, I saw the social media. It just felt like during the days and last 2 to 3 weeks of his post passing that there's been somewhat of a spiritual revival in the country, and I love that. I love it, but what scares me is that it's going to go away. That momentum is going to go away, and I don't want that momentum to go away. I want us to be able to continue that momentum, and there's lots of things in social media that I keep my eyes on. I keep my eyes on just different sources of news, right? And what is happening in our political landscape and what is happening in this conservative landscape and what is happening spiritually as a country. And what is going on there. And I just hope and I just pray that Charlie fought he really wanted to see the American family values come back. Like, I mean, I can see things like in the 50s and the 60s. And there are times in my life where I have thought, I wish I grew up like in the Andy Griffith era, right? I wish that a screen wasn't a thing. And when all of that happened with Charlie, I thought I should just turn off my screens and just live a life without screens. But then I thought screens aren't going away. If we aren't willing to share our beliefs and our truths and our Christian beliefs on social media for good, then it's all going to be taken over for the opposite, right? For evil, for the bad thing. So if our kids if we are going to be on these platforms, we need to be spreading good news. We need to be spreading the gospel of Christ. We need to be finding ways of bringing people into that culture and seeing good things because there are so many awful things out there on social media that reach our children. And so it's this dichotomy between, do I completely shut it all down and only focus on the good and just boycott screens? Or do I join in and hope to shield myself from the evil, but contribute to a better story, a better picture for my kids, my future grandchildren, and so on and so forth? And I think ultimately, I've decided that, you know, I've always said we live in this world. We're going to have to teach our children how to live in this world. If we don't teach our children how to live in this world, then they aren't going to know how to live in this world. We're not supposed to be of the world, but we are in the world, right? And we're going to have to shield ourselves from the evil, and we're going to have to teach our children how to navigate this and how to be a force for good and spreading the good news, the gospel, and bringing others to Christ. So I guess this is kind of an unloading session, I guess, on everybody, in that I just am in a spot right now of Real with Haley in brainstorming, how do I use this platform for good? What's the best way to teach and help spread the gospel, spread the word of Christ, help others find their talents to use them for the Lord? What's the best way to reach people on social media? Um, Especially women. Like, I feel a true calling that my audience is women, in using my experiences that I have gone through to help others. But now specifically, like, being able to influence other women to not be afraid to share their faith and to use their platform. If you have a gift for speaking, if you have a gift for broadcasting, if you have a gift on camera where you just light up, use that. Don't be afraid. I mean, I have posted so many like cringy videos on Facebook, on TikTok, on whatever. They're cringy, okay? And sometimes I watch them back and I'm like, oh gosh, that was terrible. But how do you grow, right? Like, you can't be afraid. Everybody makes mistakes. Everybody does stupid things. Not everything is going to land correctly. I mean, you hope and you pray that it does, and you do things with the best intentions, but there's always the possibility that something doesn't land right. And you know what? That's just a risk you take when you are putting things out on social media. Okay. That's a risk that you take. But if we don't try, we're going to miss every time. I used to be in direct sales, and in recruiting, I had a team. It was a jewelry company, and I had a team of people under me. And one of the things that was said about recruiting is that every time you ask someone, it's going to take 10 asks, 10 times of asking someone, will you host a show, or would you like to be a team member of mine, before you get a yes. So for every 10 people you ask, you're likely to get one yes. That's a lot of no's, and if you can't handle no's, then I think that's why so many people fail in direct sales, right? Like, if you can't handle the no's, that's a problem. Like, you have to have thick skin. You have to be able to handle the no's. So let's just say I put a video out on social media and it does get a lot of traction. It does get a lot of attention. Why do you think that video gets so much attention? Most of the time, it's because you've got people on one side versus people on the other, and there's a lot of heated debate going back and forth, okay? There's good comments, there's probably horrible comments on there. I think you have to be ready for that, expecting that, and you have to stand up for the truth, okay? If we're not willing to do that, why are we here? Right? So, my challenge to people is to women, and everybody's different. Everybody has different talents. Everybody has different gifts. Everybody has been blessed by God with some sort of talent. Some people are good at writing. Some people are good at talking to others. Some people are good at just being there for people, right? Some people are good at cooking. Some people are good at taking meals to others. Whatever your talent is, it could be like a crazy thing. I don't know, like maybe you play the banjo or something. I mean, you can find a way to use your talent to God's glory, okay? Especially on social media. We as Christians are going to have to start doing these things. We're going to have to stand up for our faith because if we don't, we are all, I mean, I feel like this country had been on a trajectory of we just keep going more left, more left, more left, more left. And it scares me. I remember as a kid, middle school and high school being like bad. Okay. Like I did not like it. I didn't like being around the language. I didn't like being around the culture. I wasn't somebody that was a partier. I just didn't like it. I just remember being bad. But with each year that passes, with each decade that passes, this continues to get worse, not better. Okay. So what are we doing? We're going to have to start doing things differently. So I know there's lots of controversial opinions about Charlie Kirk and Turning Point USA and what you believe as a Republican or a Democrat or whatever. Um, but in my opinion, and this is my opinion, you're welcome to have your own, we have to do something. And I think Turning Point USA is a good place to start. Um, I just feel like I don't know where I'm going with this yet. And I don't know how exactly this is coming together, but I feel like I have to do something. Now, if that means cringy videos for a little bit on social media until I find my way, that's fine. If that means podcasts, every week, okay. Um, I just don't know yet exactly how this is going to go, but I know I can't be still. I want to influence young women, women my age, older women, to stand up for their beliefs and use their talents to glorify him and make heaven crowded, right? We need a revival in this country. We need people who are good Christian people to stand up for their faith. I'm tired of just bowing down to, you know, whatever it is that is the thing of the day. Like we can't whatever, there's been all kinds of things through the years that I've seen, like, you can't pray, you can't have the 10 commandments, you can't, whatever in schools or, eh eh you're afraid you're gonna step on somebody's toes if you're against, whatever, and if they can have their opinions, I can have mine, right? And so and it should be treated no differently. We should be able to have our opinions and be able to say those and not be afraid to stand up for them. Ultimately, I think we have to. So that's kind of my soapbox for the day. That's kind of where my thought processes have been. And I just wanted to, it's kind of an outlet for me to get on here and be able to talk to you and tell you those things. I mean, I plan to continue this. I'd love to hear topics of interest for Christian women, things that you would like me to speak about or talk about. If you have a speaking opportunity, I'd love um, to come speak. That's another thing that I've decided, public speaking is something that is always going to make anybody a little nervous, no matter who you are, I would think. But it's not something that bothers me a ton. Like, I feel like I do a decent job at it. I'm not a great public speaker, but I feel but I'm okay with that. So if you need me for a ladies event, a speaking event, whatever, I'm going to stop being afraid and start being willing even when I'm scared, because we're going to have bold women to not be afraid to stand up, because ladies, these are our families, especially you young ladies. If I was having kids now, I honestly would be a little terrified of what was to come with them. Am I going to homeschool them? Because I'm scared to death to send them to a public school. Am I going to have the money to put them in a private school? Am I, you know, there's one thing that I've always thought, and I don't know how to put this into words necessarily, but when it comes to the family unit, yes, God's design is that the man of the household is the leader, right? But ladies, let's be honest. When we are our partner's helper, right? When we are helping our husbands to think about decisions and what we're doing, I don't know about you guys, but the wife's opinion carries a lot of weight. A lot of times, the husband tends to do what the wife wants. It's a conversation, a give and take. And ultimately, if he decides something else is better, okay. But I'm willing to say that 9 times out of 10, the wife has a huge influence on the way this family is going. Don't take that lightly, ladies. Like, we are powerful, okay? We are powerful in a family unit and in the world in general. As a society, we have to take the bull by the horns and make sure our families are being led, and just not be afraid to speak out. Let's raise young men and young women to be bold and fearless for the Lord, and cultivate talents and see what those talents are and use those talents for good in his kingdom. I think far too often we use our talents in the secular workplace, but when it comes to the Lord, they're stifled. They're like quieted. We're scared. We can't be scared anymore, you guys. We have to speak out. So thank you for joining me today. Again, please send me suggestions, things that you would like to hear me talk about. For some reason, I'm able to get on here and talk like, I don't know. I guess you guys are kind of like my sounding board, like therapy for me. So please reach out. Let me know your thoughts. You guys have a wonderful day, a wonderful week, a wonderful evening. And thank you for joining me on Real with Haley.